We are here. The SEC opponents for the SEC for the next 4 years were released for Ole Miss just a few minutes ago. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the big football game that is coming up this weekend between the Ole Miss Rebels and the LSU Tigers. And we'll bring Dalen Flowers in to talk about all of that stuff. This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. I'm your host, Steven Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media and a former Ole Miss staff member as well. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to bring in Dalen Flowers to talk about the schedule release, the opponents release that just happened on the SEC Network, and the Ole Miss LSU game on Saturday. And, of course, take your comments if there are any to take in the last part of this episode. Thank you very much for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen every day. And please give us a like, subscribe, and comment on your way out. And check out a second listen on the network, Nearly Every Team, College or Pro. They're available for you. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. All right, so let's bring in Dalen. Dalen, they just released Ole Miss's schedule for the next 4 years, and it's nice to see some familiar names on the list. It was sad to see Arkansas being removed from an annual opponent, but it is nice to have somebody like, hey, you're playing Vanderbilt in 2026. And the game between Drink and Lane Kiffin, we're going to get that as well. And another game against Auburn. The Alabama schools are represented again. I honestly think I like this schedule lineup for Ole Miss.
Yeah, I do too, man. I have always been a very big on the last few years. I think Missouri and Ole Miss have been two of the marquee programs in the SEC over the past few years under Bama and Georgia. So I think both fan bases have acknowledged that and have been really responsive on social media over the last few years. So I was really excited to see Missouri on the schedule for Ole Miss. I think that's going to be a class of two great programs, two great coaching staffs, and two programs that have really elevated under their current head coaches. I look at other things, like you said, Auburn back on the schedule is huge for Ole Miss in terms of recruiting, but just having a little bit of that old SEC West Division, history and tradition back is fun. Ole Miss and Auburn have definitely been in tails between the last few years with Hugh Freeze there and the Lane Kiffin fiasco in 2022. So that's always fun to see. And having LSU, on that schedule for 2026 again, kind of confirms that you'll play them at home next year for back-to-back years, and then 2028 they'll more than likely be that road game. But I love it. There's a versatility of teams that Ole Miss is not usually going to play, and you do miss out on Arkansas next year, but you get the reassurance of old traditions like at Vanderbilt, which I also think is important for Ole Miss fans. So it looks good to me. I think you also see Tennessee in there for 2027, which Ole Miss and Tennessee have obviously loved to be bitter once again. So I think it's very fun to see some of these teams on there. And quite frankly, I think it elevates the way Ole Miss can attack a few different things in terms of recruiting. You as a recruit, you want to hear, I'm going to this school so I can play in these games, so I can play against these teams. And Ole Miss is getting the opportunity to do that now with some of these schedules. And I think it's really going to benefit Ole Miss in a national standpoint.
And one really cool part about this schedule, even whenever it was divisions and all that, you would get Alabama and Auburn in the same year, and you might be on the road both or at home both, and it was just a not balanced schedule. The way this is set up in 2026, you're playing at home against Auburn. In 2027, you're playing at home against Alabama. In 2028, on the road against Auburn. In 2029, on the road against Alabama. You play every team in the conference over a 4-year period twice, but they also do a good job to where you're not playing 2 games in the state of Alabama. Auburn and Alabama rotate. Texas and Texas A&M rotate. Tennessee and Florida rotate. Vanderbilt and Kentucky rotates. If you want the schedule to be about the same thing on annual every year, that's pretty cool to me.
Yeah, I think when they first did this a few years ago with the current set of three teams that every team is playing right now, it did kind of seem a little bit repetitive based on some of the teams that you look at. Before this happened, Ole Miss was already playing Georgia and that back-to-back slate, and now they've got them again. But I think this is huge because when you come to the SEC, you get the best of the best. And Lane Kiffin mentioned this, I think, last week in the press, was that even some of the less teams that may not have the history or may not go 10 wins every year still give you competition. And I think you're going to see that. We've seen the surgence of Diego Pavia at Vanderbilt over the last few years and what that program's been able to make itself into. And I think that's going to be fun for Ole Miss. It gets to the point where you see certain teams every year, but at the same time, if you're continuing to beat up on them, it doesn't make it much of a good rivalry. And I think you're going to see a good rivalry come out of some of the games that Ole Miss is now going to face, and a reassurance of some of the other games as well. And I think it's important to be able to go to the state of Texas and play A&M in Texas every other year. I think that's going to build on recruits that are going to those games and seeing your team a little bit more that maybe have not been able to because you haven't played in the state of Texas since 2022. So I think that's important. I think it's also important to just look at it from the national brand standpoint, in which this gives Ole Miss the opportunity to really do some big things in that standpoint as well.
Also, if you want to comment on this, we'll try and put your comment on the air. If you do that, please put where you're commenting from so we can shout that out as well. The third segment, we like to do comments. So whatever you say was kind of up to you if you do it. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, I have no problem with the schedule. I don't have any issue with the way it was set up. Even the Oklahoma as a permanent opponent or annual opponent, oh well. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be fine. I think it's good that you're not going to see like the thing where Georgia has not played at Texas A&M since Texas A&M has been in the SEC.
Yeah.
You're not going. You're going to play in every stadium every 4 years. They're starting the clock completely over, even though they are trying. It looks like to if you played at home this year and you play them next year, you play on the road next year. They tried to keep that the same thing. So we will see how it looks. I'm looking forward to seeing what Florida is going to look like next year whenever they have a new football coach. I'm looking forward to seeing exactly what Texas looks like. Hey, Arch Manning and Ole Miss, I'm sure there's not going to be any storylines about that. And we'll see. It should be fun. Sark and Kiffin, Texas and Ole Miss that way as well. There's just a lot of storylines next year that Ole Miss can really elevate themselves potentially playing this schedule. Once again, this is what it looks like. If I can find my mouse, there we go. And these are the teams at the top. Top three are annual opponents. The top three after that are the home rotating opponents, and the bottom three are the away games. So there's going to be 3 home, 3 away, and then your annual ones are the ones that either 2 or 1 home game. And also, if you play 2 games on the road or 2 games on home, it's supposed to be matched up with whoever your Power 4 game is. So if you have 4 home games in the SEC and 5 road games, you're going to have the Power 4 game to make it 5-5, if that makes sense. And then you have the Group of 5 and the FCS game as well. It's a pretty good setup. They did a good job of putting this together. And like I said before, I'm completely okay. And I just find it very hard to be upset about anything about this. Final thoughts on it, Dalen?
I love it. I do. I think that it is, again, from a national standpoint, really good for Ole Miss. I know it does kind of suck, especially for me personally, just not having that Arkansas game yearly anymore. But I also do think it's refreshing to see a different team like OU every season now. I know that may not be the historic battle compared to maybe Arkansas and Vanderbilt.
Oh, what are you talking about? We're lifelong rivals. Our first game was last century.
And so I think it's going to be fun to see it. I think Oklahoma's a historic program. They have a great program. They have a great team this year. I think it's going to be fun. I think it gives a different dynamic for Ole Miss fans to be able to travel to a particularly new place in terms of history. And I think it's just going to be fun for Ole Miss to see what their schemes are going to be able to look like against teams that they really have not faced over the last couple of years very much.
All right, when we come back, we are going to start talking about the LSU Tigers and the game that is going to happen this weekend. should be pretty good. Dalen Flowers is stopping by. We're going to talk quarterbacks coming up next. This episode is brought to you by Square, and your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home, whether it's a local sports bar that's packed on game days, or the coffee shop that knows your order by hearts, or a corner deli that has been serving your community for decades. These are the places that bring people together. When a neighborhood business thrives, the whole neighborhood thrives. One of my personal favorites when I lived in Oxford was a little restaurant called Phillips Grocery. It was kind of a cabin looking feeling, a newer cabin. It wasn't run down, but the burger was absolutely fantastic. You know, these local spots are what makes a neighborhood feel like a home, and many of them run on Square. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/lockedoncollege to learn more. But before you do, go to your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy that you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. And college football is back, and I could not be much more excited. The tailgates, the rivalry, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing quite like it. But let's be real, actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game actually is itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, and the price just jump up at checkout. That is why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and in just a couple of taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about other college football games for about $25 a ticket. Now, the Ole Miss LSU game is not quite $25 a ticket, but they do have very good rates on it as well. The app made it super simple. I could even see the exact view from my seat before buying. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Do us a favor, like, subscribe, and comment to the video. Subscribe to the podcast on whichever audio podcast you're listening to, and give it a 5-star review. It costs absolutely nothing, but keeps all of this free. If you want more, join the Insiders program in the subtext link down below. No trolls, 14-day free trial, and the easiest way ever to cancel. Give it a try. And don't forget to check out a second listen on the network. Nearly every team, college or pro, is ready for you. All right, Dalen, the question that's on everybody's mind going into this Ole Miss LSU game is who is going to start at quarterback, and the answer is we don't know. But what we do know is that our boy Austin Simmons was full go in practice today. Now, that doesn't mean he was 100%. That does not mean he is going to start on Saturday. That means he is participating in practice for the first time on a Tuesday in the last 2 weeks. So that's at least something to talk about. And also, it looks like Traylon Ray is back as well. We've been waiting for him to come back at the wide receiver position. Deuce Alexander is somebody that was a revelation for the Ole Miss offense. Traylon Ray, in fall camp, before he got injured, he was having some big moments as well. So it all kind of works out with those players coming back. But what do you think about quarterback right now?
Obviously I don't know the full story. Nobody really will until the game starts Saturday. I would expect Trinidad Chambers to get his third start at Ole Miss, though. I just right now, I think if it's not broke, don't fix it. He's looked comfortable. The team has backed him. Both games, no interceptions thrown, only 1 sack, and that was against Arkansas a couple weeks ago. I just don't see any reason to rush Austin Simmons back, regardless of the competition, the matchups. I think it's a great situation if you're a coach that you have 2 great quarterbacks, no matter what's going on. I think it's a great situation to be put in. You know, if things aren't going your way with one, you have another guy out there that you can rely on. Or maybe if you want to, change your scheme up against a defense that you weren't really having your plan A go well, but you need to go to plan B, you have that. So I think it's a great situation to have if you're Lane Kiffin. But I'm sticking with Trinidad Chambers. There's no reason not to at the moment. But I do think when Austin Simmons is 100%, that he is a starting quarterback for Ole Miss. I think he earned that right throughout fall camp for a reason. And I think that the coaching staffs believed him for that obvious reason. Not knocking Trinidad Chambers. I've been beyond impressed with his performances over the last 2 games, and I've been beyond impressed with the things that he said in the pressers over the last 2 games. He speaks very maturely, and this team is rallied behind him. But right now, Trinidad has the hot hand. He has the confidence. He's seeing the game really well. The offensive line is protecting him really well, and I think he's going to be able to do a lot of things versatility-wise against LSU, which is going to put them in a headache. And you're going to need that against LSU. LSU has a really good defense, and if you can do a lot of different things good, then those moments on third downs, then those moments in late game situations are going to become a little bit more easier for you if you're Ole Miss when you have a quarterback that can do a lot of dual threat things really, really good.
Yeah, and also in the third segment, if you want to comment, go ahead and get in there so we can look at your comments in the third segment, put where you're commenting from and what you want to talk about, and we will answer that in the third segment as best we can. But listen, I do think that, let's say Trinidad Chambliss starts against LSU, and he has a game just like he did against Tulane against LSU, against that defense that is so well thought of in college football circles. I think it gets weird. Yeah. Now, I don't know that Lane Kiffin is going to make a call for a switch or something like that. But if that happens with Washington State coming up after a bye week, I think that 2-week period gets very weird. And like I said, I don't know, but Austin Simmons is a 1-1 level talent, in my opinion. But Trinidad Chambliss has been absolutely brilliant with some of his throws that he has made this season. That's the part that's impressed me, because when I talked about Trinidad Chambliss during the summer, it was on the rushing category, kind of like a 1990s option quarterback, a Scott Frost, something like that. I did not anticipate him throwing the ball as well as he throws it.
Yeah, I mean, from the portions that myself and the media was able to see throughout fall camp, neither did I. I mean, I saw him be a mobile quarterback a lot. I rate about him with you in terms of his usage in the red zone, in terms of his visibility of reading a defense in the red zone, making adjustments and making great throws and using his legs to get 6 points as well. But for me personally, I didn't see much of his arm talent in that way being used too much. I did see it in just open drills with the wide receivers when they were running routes and nobody was guarding them. But it kind of, defaces a different situation when you're playing in a real game or in a real practice moment when there's a defender they're actually trying to play the ball. So, I mean, he's impressed me. And again, I don't say that because he, was at a D2 school last year. He was playing football last year and he was putting up great numbers, which is, I think, key for why he's succeeding right now. I think my biggest thing coming into the Arkansas game with him was you can be as good as you want. You can come from a great school and be great there. But when you get into that real game situation, when you're playing your first ever SEC game on national TV, the stakes are a little bit higher. The pressure is a little bit different and things can easily go wrong for you. And if they do, how do you adapt to that and make them better? I mean, I saw Trinidad, from the center position, a few of those snaps were too high or too low, and one was even on the ground in the red zone, and he got it up and threw the touchdown pass and just kept his composure. And I know that may sound simple to some people, but it's very easy in that type of moment to let your brain get you out of focus and do something wrong. So I think his composure over the last 2 weeks has really, really impressed me the most. And I think as well, if he's able to continue this, it definitely builds a little bit of conversation. But that's why, the head coach gets paid the big bucks to make the big decisions. And Lane Kiffin at the end of the day has to put, personal things aside when this comes and has to do what's best for Ole Miss, and that's winning football games. And so whoever he feels is best in that situation to lead Ole Miss to victory in every game that they play, you kind of just have to, accept it, understand what he's doing, and hope the best thing happens for Ole Miss.
All right, when we come back, we are going to answer your questions as well, get into the comment sections. Be sure to put where you're commenting from so we can call that out as well. Dalen Flowers from the Rebel Walk talking Ole Miss and LSU right now. Stick around later. Mazda crafts cars that do more than simply move. From footwork to breath work, athletes sweat all of the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how they craft every model. You can make an everyday drive feel like anything but, from a smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, Dalen, let's get into the comment section real quick and see what's up. It looks like our friend Dada is going to be heavily mentioned in the comment section today. Listen, he said, this is going to be an insane schedule. Dada says that. This is going to be an insane schedule going forward for all SEC teams. I am about 99% sure that this means a 9-3 team making the college football playoff. It's exciting stuff. I'm so thankful Diego Pavia is gone in 2026. Yeah, the schedule coming up here. I am surprised also. We're going to get to the Midwest picker. I'm surprised about Oklahoma, but Oklahoma had to play somebody, because the closest team they're close to is Texas, and the most put together team on their schedule is Missouri. They've played them nearly 100 times. But then after that, what happens?
Yeah.
You don't get Texas A&M. You're not going to get LSU because of schedule balance and the way it's set up. They're not going to do that to either one of those. They're not going to do it to Mississippi State because, let's be honest, Alabama called Mississippi State. And so it just worked out that way. Oklahoma's not going to get Kentucky. They're not going to get Vanderbilt. Ole Miss was the closest team available to them that they were willing to play around with. Now, I wanted the Arkansas game to stay. That's the drunk uncle of college football. I wanted that game to stay. But it going away and playing it 2 out of every 4 years as opposed to every year, I can live with that. I just didn't want a situation like Georgia. Georgia has gone to Texas since Texas has been in the SEC before they went to Texas A&M, with A&M joining the SEC. Georgia has never gone to Kyle Field. So I didn't want a situation like this. The schedule was broken before. It was absolutely broken. Yeah. And I think this is going to be a pretty good fit. We'll see exactly how that goes. Midwest Picker asked the question and said, surprised we get Oklahoma. Yeah, it's just a geographic thing. And Dada says that he's commenting from Dothan, Alabama. Dothan, is that the one in North Bama? No, I'm thinking of Coleman, Alabama. Either way, I'm not very familiar other than I-65 when it comes to Alabama. I know there's a Whataburger north of Birmingham that I used to stop at all the time, but that's about all I know. Dada says, will Luke Haas and Jalen Braxton be back in full swing for LSU? I think Luke Haas will. Luke Haas did a good bit against Tulane. Mm-hmm. I imagine he's going to catch his first pass out of all the games. Now, Jalen Braxton, I don't know. I'd like Jalen Braxton to be back. It feels like he should be back, but he's just not, unfortunately. DB says, hotty toddy from Horn Lake, Mississippi, and Dada has let me know. South Alabama near Panama City. Okay. So it's like Bluebell, right? So, Dalen's got a comment as well. Dalen, you come be in the Grove this weekend?
Plan on it. I don't know what time I'll be out there. Maybe try to get out there about 11:30. So definitely plan on it. It's just if you see me speak or reach out to me on social media, I do my best to reach out back to people when they reach out to me. So I definitely plan on being out there.
Do you go to the Grove? Like, does it depend on the kickoff time with you working? When do you try to get to the press box?
It's a great question. So we are allowed to go out there we were allowed to go out there for Tulane at 11:30. So 3 hours before the game starts, we're allowed to technically go into the press box. I got out to the Grove at about 11 this past Saturday, and I went to go see a bunch of different tents for people I know, and then I did my pregame video. So I got there at about 1 this past Saturday. So I try to get there about an hour and a half before every game starts so I can get my stuff set up. Also go down to the field and see people and just kind of get the vibe on what the field is like as well. So I get there about an hour and a half before every game starts.
Yeah, it was. Listen, back whenever I was at Ole Miss, it was in the Stone Ages. And in their pregame, they were it just wasn't good. The pregame just wasn't good whenever I was in school there. But the highlight of that, I used to have to film all the games from on top of the press box. So you'd had to climb up and do all that. And, I'm petrified of height, so I had to get over that real quick. But the highlight of the game in the pregame was the Scorpions playing Rock You Like a Hurricane. That was the highlight back then. And that might have been the highlight of the game, period, if we're going to be honest about it.
Yeah, the Purge setup is definitely the talk of the pregame for Ole Miss fans now. I mean, they start doing this Purge thing and the Purge countdown when the players get ready to come out. I think Ole Miss fans have definitely, shared their comments about it.
Explain what that's about to people that might not know.
So I'm still trying to figure out myself, honestly, but they do a Purge countdown from the Purge movie. And essentially it's just counting down the players to run out into the field like they do. But there's like a screeching noise that I guess is their point of trying to make it like a cool / scary, like outpour to let you know, like, hey, the guys are coming to handle business. So, but as well, they do it so weirdly sometimes that it doesn't actually match up with the time that they're coming out. So they're doing it's like a countdown. It's like 5 minutes left, but they're about to get ready. Literally, they're about to walk into the entrance and touch Chucky Mullen's head, and they're about to run out. So like, I don't know. So I'm still trying to figure out. I think they were never doing that before this year. So I think they're honestly still in a phase era, try to figure out how this is going to work, if they like it or not. So I've seen a few different things from the football atmosphere this year that honestly I think are important. I think that small things in terms of chants and crowd interactions and sounds and music and fireworks are important, especially for recruits that are there. I think some people may not think about those small things, but I think it's personally important for recruits to be there and see stuff like that because that's the atmosphere they want to be in. That's the atmosphere that they can see themselves playing in and be at home, and I really do love it, honestly. So they've been working a little bit on it, so I think it's important to see.
All right. Is this the weekend you think we're going to see Suntarine Perkins get turned loose?
I think that's a great question. I don't think Suntarine's been playing bad. Obviously, hasn't recorded a sack so far. I just think that you look at last year and even his first year, there are guys on that edge those past couple of years for Ole Miss that was allowing Suntarine to do a few different things differently and as well not see as much attention from opposing offensive lines. Now it's year 3, preseason All-American. Still a lot of great talent around the defensive front and the edge, just still trying to work in some of the guys that, maybe have not played much or coming from different schools. And now offenses know who Suntarine Perkins is, and they know how to kind of focus their schemes around him and what he does really well. And I think teams are just kind of revolving around that. I'm seeing him being double teamed a lot. I'm seeing him kind of be put in positions that he's normally not in different years. So I'm not necessarily thinking he's having a bad year. I just think that there's a lot of different things going on around him. Teams are scheming highly at him because they know how his ability can be. And when he's doing great things, he can shut down an opposing offense. So I definitely hope Suntarine gets his first sack this weekend. I think this defense really needs a sack. I think for momentum-wise and confidence and as well just building up the crowd a little bit. So you're definitely going to see him attack. I think he notices that he has not put up a sack yet and he's not really been as violent that he could be compared to a few past years. But I'm not sitting there concerned like, oh my gosh, what's happening to Suntarine Perkins? No, I just think that football is football and things happen. And, I think he's going to be just fine. He's played really well. I mean, he's getting in the backfield and they're scheming around him really well. So I think his time is coming to step up really big this weekend.
All right. What do you got going on this weekend, bub?
Oh, man, just recording like crazy. I did a show yesterday with you tonight. I've got another small show tomorrow. And then I've got a show Thursday night as well. So it's a busy week in terms of me recording. May actually do a show Friday as well. Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe not. I'm still trying to figure out the details on that. But just preparing for LSU weekend. We've got basketball media early Thursday morning as well. So I get to my first chance to kind of look at Chris Beard's team this year. I have not really been able to sit and watch him and talk to him in his person as much. So this will kind of be my first time. So got that going on this week and just preparing for LSU, of course, for this weekend.
All right, Dalen. Thank you so much for stopping by. Dalen Flowers, the Rebel Walk, the Dalen Show. Check both of those out. But Dalen, thank you very much for stopping by, and we'll talk to you later, man.
Appreciate it, man. Y'all take care.
All right, take care. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves in offering the most comprehensive perspectives, which is why we're the front door of Ole Miss. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. It helps the show, and it is completely free. Your support means the world to us. And another big moment for Locked On, college football fans. Locked On and Fire TV are presenting College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation, a longtime two-time AP Coach of the Year. Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local expert. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. Tune in this week. Yours truly will be on it. Hotty toddy, and we will talk to you later. Remember, analytics is just the old English word that means bad football. Take care.